tragic story of the death of an elderly woman who was mauled by two pit bulls. The dogs, which belonged to the woman's son, attacked and killed her at her home in Tunapuna around lunchtime today. Police later shot and killed the animals. As Jonathan Chase tells us, Sylvia Roberts had no chance, even as neighbours and the mail carrier looked on in horror.
Around noon today, Sylvia Roberts was standing in her porch while her son's 3 pit bulls roamed the yard. Neighbours told us she was speaking with the mailman when she was attacked.
And then he was on the ground already. Tiger was at her neck. The other one was just giving peripheral bites, and I just turned away.
Miss Roberts' neighbour, who would not give us her name, says usually Sylvia would not venture out once the dogs were on the loose.
And she knew that the dogs were out, so she would not come outside. But she was speaking to the postman from in the gallery. And from what he said, the dog pulled her out of the gallery.
Once the dogs got her out of the porch, she stood no chance.
She hasn't been mobile to that extent because she had surgery last year or the end of the year before. So she would have been recuperating. She would have been slow.
By the time police arrived at the house on Archibald Street in Tunapuna, it was too late. They shot and killed all 3 dogs in the yard, even though neighbours say only 2 attacked the 84-year-old Roberts. Roy Peters is the victim's nephew. He says the dogs weren't typically allowed out of their kennels during the day.
You had to have some protection. You can't have a gun, but at least you had dogs. But 9% of the time the dogs has been locked up. It's mostly in the night. If you work at night, well, let go the dogs, I think.
Sylvia's neighbour and friend says most of the people on the street have dogs for protection.
They're not giving me a gun. What am I supposed to do? I own property here. I own property in Erin, and they would not give me a gun. So I have to have a dog.
But not everyone shares that opinion. Christopher Pollard says this latest fatal mauling, the second in less than a year, has convinced him to get rid of his pit bull.
These dogs are very unpredictable, and it could mean saving a life. I decided to give up mine.
This killing will no doubt spark further debate on what to do with the dogs. But whatever side you come down on in the pit bull debate, spare a thought for Glenroy Roberts, who's left to grieve the death of his mother at the jaws of his own pets. Jonathan Chase, C News.
Well, government remains firm in its commitment to deal with the problems posed by dangerous dogs and pit bulls in particular, says Attorney General Anand Logan. He describes the latest mauling of 83-year-old Sylvia Roberts as sad and tragic.
This, unfortunately, vindicates the strong stand taken by the government in respect of dangerous dogs. It is sad and tragic that it will take the death of yet another elderly citizen mauled to death by a pit bull to illustrate why the government is right in taking this strong stand.
The Dog Control Amendment Bill has been passed in both houses of Parliament and now awaits proclamation. AG Ram Logan says he's confident that this legislation will be aggressively pursued to the end to protect life, limb and property of law-abiding citizens. And he says there can be no room for explanation or doubt by dog lovers who claim every attack by a pit bull can be explained.
Attacks themselves by the family-owned pit bull who have turned against family members. They demonstrate beyond a shadow of a doubt that the dogs have an inherent sense of unpredictability and a demonstrated propensity for violent, vicious and deadly attacks against human beings.
The Attorney General will take a note to Cabinet on Thursday to have certain sections in the Dog Control Act proclaimed with immediate